Hey everyone! Welcome back to a new video. Today I'm super excited because we are going to be testing out this watercolor set that Woomer sent me. I hadn't used watercolors in forever, so this was the perfect excuse to get back to it. Every time I return to an art medium, I haven't used it in a while. I remember just how much fun it is, and watercolors are no exception. I think sometimes I get caught up in other materials and forget how enjoyable and relaxing they can be. So let's talk about this watercolor set. I was honestly super impressed by the pigmentation. It's way stronger than I expected. The colors are bright, vibrant, and mix really nicely. The set also comes with 2 water brushes, which is really convenient for painting on the go. I haven't used them yet because I didn't want to get them dirty right away, but they seem like they'd be perfect for outdoor painting or quick sketches. Plus the kit includes some watercolor paper, which I probably should have used, but in my impatience, I went straight for my usual sketchbook. Spoiler alert, it was not the best choice. For this video, I decided to paint these fairy illustrations I sketched the other day. I love how they turn out, especially the first 2. Fairies are honestly one of my favorite things to draw. I could spend all day sketching and painting fairies, flowers, and dreamy forest scenes. It just brings me back to my childhood. Did any of you have those fairy tale books with watercolor illustrations? I had a ton of them. Books about forests, elves, wizards, and almost all of them were painted in watercolors. I even remember some Tinkerbell books where the illustrations were entirely watercolor based and they were absolutely stunning. So this whole painting session kind of felt like a nostalgic trip back to that. Now, as I mentioned before, my sketchbook isn't really made for watercolors. It's actually a mixed media sketchbook from Art Creation, for anyone curious. It does okay, but it wrinkles quite a bit and doesn't handle water super well. Still, I made it work. I just had to be a little careful with how much water I used. Since the watercolor palette had so many colors, I wanted to test as many as possible. I ended up leaning towards greens and pinks, probably because I just love those colors, but also because they give me major fairy forest vibes. Now, let's talk about my lack of watercolor technique. I'll be honest, I have no idea what I'm doing with watercolors. I tend to use them more like wash, meaning I apply way too much pigment and not enough water. From what I learned in university, you're supposed to build up layers slowly, waiting for each one to dry before adding another. But the problem is, I have zero patience for that. That's one of the reasons I love wash. it dries fast and you can layer colors quickly. Watercolors, on the other hand, require a lot of waiting, and I'm just not great at that. So my layering technique is definitely questionable, and I feel like my paintings end up looking a bit flat because I don't build enough depth. But hey, maybe that's just my style, or at least that's what I tell myself to feel better about it. For the first fairy, I didn't have a super clear idea in mind. I just wanted her to have a calm, relaxed pose, but as I started painting, she somehow ended up looking like a warrior fairy, which I actually loved, and I had a lot of fun adding little jewelry details to her outfit, and I think her design turned out really cute. One of my favorite parts of this illustration was designing the wings. I wanted to do something a little more structured, kind of geometric, and for some reason my brain instantly thought of Wings Club, especially Tecna's wings. I know they don't actually look like them, but that was the general vibe in my head. I imagine them looking almost crystal-like with sharp edges and faced appearance. I don't know if I completely pulled that off, but I had fun with it. Now, moving on the second fairy, this one is a bit more soft and dreamy compared to the first one. I wanted to give her a dress with a slit in the skirt, as if she were laying down on the ground and the fabric was flowing around her. I don't know if that actually come across, but that was the idea. I also positioned her wings slightly downwards and added some folds to the fabric to make it look more natural. For her wings, I went for a more insect-like look, something softer and more subtle. I wanted the focus to be on her rather than just the wings. In contrast, I feel like the first fairy ended up looking very ornate and detailed, with the dress, jewelry, and wings all competing for attention, and this second fairy, however, has much calmer vibe. By the time I got to the third fairy, my sketchbook was not having it. It was crinkling a lot, and you can really see the paper struggling in certain areas. The thing is, if you let each layer dry properly and don't use too much water, the paper holds up okay. But if you overdo it, it starts warping and makes everything harder to control. One of my biggest struggles with these fairies was painting the dress folds. For some reason, I completely forgot how to paint fabric and just started adding random lines. Halfway through, I was like, wait, this makes no sense. But thankfully, once I added the line art, it all came together. Speaking of line art, I had a bit of a crisis over it. I absolutely love how some artists use color line art, and I think it looks stunning. But every time I try, I hate how it turns out. I attempted it for the first fairy, outlining her face in color, but immediately regretted it. So I switched back to black ink for the rest of the painting. I even went back and looked at all Tinkerbell illustrations, and they all had black outlines. So I figured, why not just stick to what I know works? I still want to practice with color line art more, but every time I try, I give up halfway through. Maybe one day I'll figure it out. Anyway, that's all for today's video. I hope you had fun watching and listening to me rumble about my process. Huge thanks to Woomer for sending me this watercolor set. I genuinely enjoyed using it. They also gave me a discount code, so if you want to check them out, I'll leave all the details in the description. I definitely need to take some outside for some plein air painting, since the set comes with everything you need. It'd be perfect for that. Let me know if you'd like to see a video of me painting outdoors. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!